Has there ever been a moment that reshaped your entire life? For me, it arrived in the form of a phone call 3 weeks before Christmas that completely upended my understanding of connection, affection, and who truly stood by me. My parents abruptly disinvited me from our annual family Christmas celebration, claiming my recent divorce would somehow disgrace them. But what followed was a sequence of events I never anticipated. A surprising inheritance, a sprawling estate in Bedford, and an unforgettable Christmas Eve gala that captivated everyone online. This journey taught me an undeniable truth. Sometimes, letting go of the family you were born into is the only path to discovering the genuine connections you truly deserve. Before we dive into the depths of this remarkable story, if this resonates with you, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to Tinye Revenge. Also, let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is. Because this tale, once an unimaginable ordeal, became the pivotal turning point that redefined everything for me. For 8 exhaustive years, I existed within a marriage that, from the outside, appeared flawless. Yet internally, it slowly hollowed me out. My former husband was a master of public charm, effortlessly captivating at social gatherings, while behind closed doors, he was subtly demeaning. His cruelty wasn't overt. There were no shouted words or slammed doors. Instead, it was a precise, unyielding erosion of my self-worth, a constant, soft pressure, like a slow drip wearing away stone. He frequently suggested I wasn't slender enough, not sufficiently driven, not intelligent enough. When I brought home stellar performance reviews from work, his response would be, "Perhaps they simply felt sorry for you." If I made even a minor error, he'd flash a smile and quietly insinuate, "This is precisely why you'll never advance in your career." Every dollar I spent was scrutinized. Every message on my phone demanded an explanation. Each choice I made required his explicit approval. The most troubling part, I genuinely believed this was normal. I thought all marriages involved this level of discomfort and pain. It took 2 full years of intensive therapy with Dr. Maya Park for me to finally grasp the stark reality. What I was enduring wasn't love. It was systematic diminishment. 6 months ago, when I finally initiated divorce proceedings, it felt like taking my first true breath in ages. I was, understandably, terrified, but underneath that fear, a profound sense of pride bloomed. I truly believed my parents would share that pride. I was gravely mistaken. We sat in their pristine Manhattan living room, surrounded by photographs of smiling faces that no longer reflected reality. My mother, Patricia Mitchell, didn't hesitate. Before I could even finish speaking, she uttered, "What will everyone think, Victoria?" Not, "Are you all right?" Not, "How can we support you?" Just an immediate concern for public perception, reputation, and appearance. My father, Richard Mitchell, deliberately placed his coffee cup down, a slow, disappointed gesture he reserved for any family member who dared to exhibit human imperfection. "Marriages require effort," he stated. "You don't simply abandon ship when things get tough." "He wasn't merely unhappy, Dad," I responded softly. "He was controlling. He was manipulative. Therapists just tell you what you want to hear for money," he interjected sharply. "Your sister Caroline has been married for 12 years. She understands how to maintain a happy home." It was a familiar refrain. Caroline, the flawless sibling in Greenwich, with her impeccable residence, perfect children, and picturesque holiday cards. And then there was me, Victoria, the daughter who consistently needed correction, adjustment, refinement. My mother nodded in solemn agreement, her pearls gleaming. "Perhaps speak with Caroline," she suggested. "Learn how she manages things." I yearned to scream. Caroline wasn't experiencing panic attacks in grocery store parking lots. She wasn't meticulously hiding receipts in the lining of her purse. She wasn't sharing a bed with someone who meticulously documented her imperfections as if it were a cherished pastime. But I knew, with absolute certainty, that none of these details mattered to them. "The divorce will be finalized next month," I stated, my voice firm. "I'm not changing my mind." They exchanged a look, a well-rehearsed, silent display of profound disapproval, as if my very survival was a mere inconvenience. 2 days later, an email arrived from my mother. A seemingly small request. She wished for me to conceal the divorce until after the holidays. "It's not deception," she wrote. "It's discretion. Family matters should remain private." Private, I thought, meaning shameful, meaning asterisk me asterisk. I replied, explaining that I would not lie, that I had absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. That choosing peace over a harmful marriage was not something I would ever apologize for. My father called within the hour. "Your mother is genuinely trying to assist you," he stated. "You're being overly emotional." Emotional? That familiar word. The same word my ex-husband used whenever I cried silently in the bathroom at 2 in the morning. The very word my parents employed whenever I attempted to express anything truly authentic. "Dad," I replied, "I'm not being emotional. I'm simply tired of pretending my life is fine when it clearly isn't." He sighed, his irritation palpable. "You're complicating things for everyone. Your aunt will be at Christmas. Her son is single and successful. What kind of impression do you think this makes?" An honest one, I longed to say, but honesty had never found a welcoming home in the Mitchell household. The next morning, my phone vibrated with an invitation to a family group chat. Holiday arrangements, meal allocations, guest rosters. I hadn't even opened it yet. I stood there, phone in hand, staring at the notification, trying to summon the strength to re-enter that suffocating space. What I couldn't have known, what was entirely beyond my comprehension, was that opening that group chat would fundamentally alter everything. Because within its digital confines, I was about to uncover something utterly unexpected. My name was missing, and that, in essence, was where my true journey began. I gazed at the family group chat notification for what felt like an eternity before finally tapping it open. My mother had composed an extensive message, her characteristic holiday spreadsheet cleverly disguised as a lengthy paragraph. There were meticulous lists of dishes, precise arrival times, and details on which relatives were flying in from various cities: Boston, Seattle, London. Every line read as though she were orchestrating a state dinner, not simply Christmas Eve at Caroline's opulent Greenwich residence. I scrolled slowly, absorbing the familiar, intricate dance of their holiday perfection. Caroline and her spouse were confirmed. Andrew, my brother, would be joining via video link from London, also confirmed. Aunt Margaret, Uncle Robert, Cousin Jennifer, the judicial couple from my mother's charity network, my father's business associates. All of them meticulously categorized, each assigned a specific place at the dining table. I reached the bottom of the lengthy roster, then scrolled back up, convinced I must have overlooked something. I hadn't. My name was absent. Not merely forgotten, not misplaced in a rush, but simply not there. My fingers trembled slightly as I typed, "Mom, I'm not on the list. Did you forget to add me?" 3 dots appeared, vanished, then reappeared, as if my mother were silently debating which polite version of the truth to present. My father's response came first. "We need to discuss this. Call your mother." A cold knot tightened in my stomach. I dialed immediately. She answered on the first ring as if the device had never left her grasp. "Hello, sweetheart," she chirped, a little too brightly. "Do you need something? Did you forget to include me on the Christmas Eve guest list?" There was a pause. I distinctly heard a door click shut on her end, followed by the muffled clink of an object being set down. "Oh, honey," she finally uttered, using that soft, condescending tone she typically reserved for waitstaff who brought the wrong order. "We collectively decided it would be best if you sat this one out." Sat this one out. My voice cracked, raw with emotion. "It's Christmas, Mom. Precisely why," she rejoined. "This year's gathering holds significant importance. The Brooks are hosting, and they'll have several prominent guests. We require everything to appear utterly seamless." "Seamless?" I whispered, the word tasting bitter. "You mean without me?" "Don't be theatrical," she snapped. "It's merely a precaution. Caroline's husband invited a colleague from his firm. Your aunt invited the Hartfords. Everyone attending is successful, established, and well-situated. And I'm not," I finished for her. "You're currently in the middle of a divorce, Victoria. People will undoubtedly talk." I felt a fiery heat surge in my throat. "Then let them. It's the truth. We do not publicize private matters," my mother stated sharply. "And your refusal to exercise discretion is making this unnecessarily difficult for everyone." For everyone, or just for you? Silence. The kind of silence that conveys more than any words ever could. My father then joined the call, his voice filling the speaker with chilling authority. "Your mother is correct. This isn't the appropriate year for you to attend. It conveys an undesirable message." The undesirable message about what? I pressed. About our family's core values. There it was, the harsh truth, exposed like an ugly centerpiece. So, my decision to leave an abusive marriage reflects poorly on your values. If you had exerted more effort, he remarked, it might not have reached this point. 8 years of insidious manipulation dismissed in a single, callous sentence. He monitored my spending, I whispered, my voice barely audible. He tracked my phone. Every marriage encounters challenges, my mother cut in, her voice unwavering. You simply gave up. I didn't give up. I fought relentlessly, every single day, just to keep my head above water. Not hard enough, my father countered. In that moment, I wasn't a 34-year-old woman. I regressed, becoming a teenager again, sitting on the cold marble floor of that very house, being told I wasn't applying myself, that I needed to try harder. That their disappointment was something I actively caused, rather than something they cruelly inflicted. Mom, I pleaded, my voice raw with desperation. I need my family. You need to grasp the concept of accountability, she snapped back. And until you restore order to your life, we believe it's best if you don't attend Christmas Eve. My breath hitched. So, I'm being punished. Consequences are distinct from punishment, she corrected, her tone icy. Your actions have repercussions for all of us. People will inquire about your husband. What am I supposed to say? That we're divorced? Absolutely not. That would bring us utter disgrace. Humiliate them. My profound pain was simply a public relations inconvenience. She quickly added, we've already informed everyone you'll be traveling for work. My heart plummeted. You lied about me. We safeguarded the family, she asserted. And where exactly do I fit into that family? More silence, more undeniable truth. Finally, my father spoke with a tone of ultimate finality, designed to terminate conversations, not just sentences. Until you can contribute positively to family gatherings, it is advisable that you remain absent. Contribute positively, as if I were a mere decorative object that no longer complemented the room's aesthetic. I swallowed hard, my hand clenching the edge of the kitchen counter. And how will I know when I'm welcome again? We'll inform you, my mother replied, when you're back on track. Back on track, meaning remarried, meaning silent, meaning diminished. I disconnected the call before my voice could utterly betray the torrent of emotions swelling within me. For an extended period, I stood motionless in my kitchen, allowing the crushing weight of their rejection to permeate every corner of the room. Excluded from Christmas, expunged from my own family, rebranded as a liability. My phone vibrated. Another notification. The group chat, once again alive. Only this time, the discussion wasn't about holiday meals or intricate schedules. It was about me. And the instant I opened it, everything irrevocably changed. The group chat erupted with messages the moment my parents concluded our call. Notifications cascaded across my screen like a shower of digital debris. I opened the thread with a hesitant finger, already bracing myself for the impact. My mother had posted another lengthy update about Christmas Eve at Caroline's Greenwich residence. Details on what everyone should bring. I placed my phone face down on the counter. The room suddenly felt unnervingly silent, as if the quiet itself were stretched taut across every surface. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I completely broke down. Not with dramatic sobs or loud wailing, but with a slow, profound ache of grief that comes from the chilling realization that home is no longer a place you can return to. My thoughts drifted to my grandmother, Eleanor Whitman, the sole individual in the Mitchell family who had ever truly seen me without judgment. She had dedicated her entire life to creating something substantial from nothing, astutely investing in properties across Manhattan and Westchester, long before those areas became synonymous with immense wealth. She often used to tell me, "Your parents perceive the world through a series of filters, darling, but you genuinely see people." I missed her so intensely it was a physical pain. 6 months prior, during her final days at New York Presbyterian Hospital, she had grasped my hand with surprising strength. She whispered something cryptic yet profound. "When you are truly ready to choose yourself, Victoria, seek out Harrison." Back then, I didn't fully comprehend her words. I interpreted them emotionally, spiritually. I certainly didn't imagine she meant it literally. My phone buzzed, jolting me back to the present. A text message from an unknown number. "Miss Mitchell, this is James Harrison. Pursuant to your grandmother's instructions, I am reaching out once more. This matter is crucial. I wiped my tear-streaked cheeks. Crucial. Important enough for Grandma to insist. I dialed the number immediately. Mr. Harrison, this is Victoria. His voice was warm, yet carried an underlying firmness. Your grandmother foresaw you would contact me when you required clarity. I believe that moment may have arrived. Can you meet me at my office tomorrow afternoon? I hesitated for only a fleeting moment. Yes, I'll be there. That night, sleep proved elusive. I lay awake, endlessly replaying the conversation with my parents, the harsh dismissal, the suffocating shame, their utter indifference. I repeatedly tried to conjure an image of the holidays where I still belonged, where I still had a rightful place at the table. But that image dissolved each time my mother's icy voice echoed in my memory. You're off track. By morning, the acute hurt had subsided, morphing into a quieter, more resolute determination. When I arrived at Whitman and Harrison Legal Group in Midtown Manhattan, the receptionist greeted me as if she had been expecting me all week. She offered me tea and guided me down a hallway adorned with framed historical documents and vintage photographs of New York from the 1970s, my grandmother's era. Mr. Harrison entered moments later, a distinguished man in his 60s with silver hair and the serene demeanor of someone who had navigated decades of intricate family secrets. Victoria, he said warmly, extending a hand. Your grandmother frequently spoke of you. My throat tightened. I miss her dearly. She missed you too, he replied gently, and she planned for you with extraordinary foresight. He walked to a dark wooden filing cabinet and retrieved a thick folder sealed with an embossed emblem. My grandmother's name, Eleanor Whitman, was elegantly printed across the top. She left exceptionally precise instructions, he explained, sitting opposite me. She believed you would require this at a truly pivotal juncture in your life. I swallowed hard. What kind of instructions? He scrutinized me, as if assessing my readiness. Then, he produced a cream-colored envelope, heavier than a standard letter, with my name penned in her familiar, graceful script. Your grandmother wished for you to receive this when you were choosing yourself over those who sought to diminish you. My breath caught in my chest. She said that? She predicted the timing almost perfectly, he confirmed with a nod. Approximately 6 months after her passing, give or take. I took the envelope with both hands, the paper trembling slightly. My grandmother's handwriting felt like a tender touch from across the divide of time. There's something else, he added, reaching back into the folder. Something she insisted accompany this letter. He placed a single object on the desk between us, a heavy, ornate brass key, the kind used for antique estates, the kind that promised to unlock more than just doors. My heart pounded wildly. What is this key for, Mr. Harrison? He leaned back, lacing his fingers together. It leads to what your grandmother referred to as your freedom and what others might call your inheritance. I gazed at the key, its weight, its quiet promise, its undeniable truth. In that precise moment, I didn't fully grasp its profound implications. I couldn't have known it would entirely redirect the course of my life. I only knew that something deep inside me, something small and bruised, finally found the strength to stand tall. The ultimate answer resided within the letter, and I was, at last, ready to open it. The creased edges, the substantial feel of the paper, the familiar, elegant handwriting. Everything conspired to create the sensation that my grandmother had reached out from beyond to steady my trembling hands. When I finally broke the wax seal, a faint, sweet scent of lavender wafted upwards, the very same fragrance she always kept infused in her dresser drawers. Inside was a single, solitary page, yet its words felt heavier than any document I had ever encountered. My dearest Victoria, it began. If you are reading this, then the people who should have championed you have, instead, revealed their true, limited selves. Do not allow their narrowness to shrink your spirit. You were never destined to be muted. You were always meant to radiate. My throat tightened painfully. I blinked back tears and continued reading. The enclosed key grants you access to Bedford Estate, the very home your mother always yearned for, yet never knew I possessed. It is yours completely, without restriction, and without any conditions. This is not charity, nor is it pity. It is a profound gift, allowing you to embark on a new beginning. I stared at that line, utterly dumbfounded. Bedford Estate, the grand mansion in Westchester County, the one my mother used to describe with such reverence during our Christmas light tour, always speculating about what it would be like to reside beyond its imposing gated drive. Grandma had owned it discreetly for years. I continued reading, my heart racing. There is also a trust established, containing $500,000, designed to empower you to rebuild your life without fear. Utilize it for healing, for embracing joy, for anything that restores light to your existence. Promise me you will not share a single penny with those who treated you as an afterthought. They forfeited that privilege a long time ago. Tears blurred my vision. I felt an unfamiliar stirring in my chest. Grief, yes, but also a profound warmth I hadn't experienced in months, perhaps even years. The final line concluded, "Live vibrantly, love without inhibition, occupy your rightful space. I always believed you would. With all my love, Grandma Aliner." By the time I reached her signature, my sight was completely obscured by tears. A soft, involuntary cry escaped me, not born of sorrow, but from the kind of immense relief that shatters something fragile open within your very core. I looked up to find Mr. Harrison observing me with a gentle, knowing respect. "She loved you beyond measure," he said softly. "I had no idea she possessed all this," I whispered, still reeling. He nodded. "Your grandmother cultivated her investments with exceptional discretion. She acquired Bedford Estate 15 years ago and leased it to high-level executives and international diplomats. The accompanying documents confirmed it. Bedford Estate, now valued at approximately $2 million, was entirely mine. She intentionally never disclosed it to your parents," he explained, "because she knew precisely how they would react." Aliner firmly believed that wealth was a constructive tool, not a destructive weapon. I laughed, a shaky, disbelieving sound, as I wiped away my tears. Mom would have absolutely fainted. She suspected Aliner had some affluence, Mr. Harrison agreed, but she never truly comprehended the full extent. He then smoothly slid another folder across the expansive desk. "This contains the official property deed, comprehensive trust details, contact information for highly recommended financial advisors, and, she insisted on this, a therapist as well." He smiled faintly. "And a party planner." "A party planner?" I blinked, utterly bewildered. He chuckled softly. "Her exact words were, 'When Victoria is prepared, she'll instinctively know how to truly celebrate.'" My chest tightened again, this time with a small, unfamiliar spark, a warm sensation. Hope, perhaps. "She also included one final stipulation," he added. "You are expressly forbidden from financially supporting your parents with any portion of this inheritance. Not as a loan, not as a gift, nothing at all." Aliner, I realized, truly knew them well. I nodded slowly. "She consistently protected me, and she continues to do so," he concluded. As I departed his office, the crisp winter air enveloped me like a pristine, unblemished slate. I walked several blocks, almost oblivious to the cold, the rhythmic hum of city traffic, or the soft, twinkling glow of holiday decorations adorning Midtown. Then I halted abruptly, because something profound had shifted deep within me. The version of Victoria who had once desperately pleaded with her parents for a place at their Christmas table, the version who genuinely believed her worth, was entirely contingent on how adeptly she could conform to their stringent standards, the version who relentlessly shrunk herself to appease others. She was still present, yes, but she was no longer in control. I looked down at the heavy antique key in my hand, laden with promise. A home, a true home, one that belonged solely and unequivocally to me. And for the very first time in my adult life, I allowed myself to envision what Christmas could genuinely look like if I wasn't merely tolerated, but wholeheartedly welcomed. I retrieved my phone and messaged my inner circle. Rachel Alvarez, my divorce lawyer, who had become an unexpected confidant. Maria Santos, who had offered quiet, invaluable support during my darkest hours. And a few understanding coworkers who had consistently demonstrated genuine kindness throughout those challenging months. Christmas at my place this year. No judgment, no drama, just delicious food and genuine warmth. Rachel responded instantly. "Absolutely, I'm bringing wine, a lot of wine." Maria replied with a string of heart emojis. Two colleagues quickly chimed in, expressing excitement and unwavering support. The concept began to expand within me, like a small spark igniting dry kindling. Why settle for a modest gathering? Why not orchestrate an entire Christmas feast for people who truly showed up, who genuinely cared, who understood that family isn't merely defined by DNA, but by unwavering presence? I stood on the bustling midtown sidewalk, clutching the key, as snow began to fall in slow, gentle, forgiving flakes. I whispered to myself, let's make this happen. I was finished begging for a small corner at someone else's table. It was time to construct my own. 3 days later, I would pass through the majestic doors of Bedford Estate, and within its ancient walls, I would embark on a journey of completely redefining everything I thought I knew about home, about family, and about belonging. But for now, all I knew was this: Christmas was drawing near. And this time, it was unmistakably mine. The very first time I guided my car through the imposing stone gates of Bedford Estate, it felt utterly surreal. The extensive, tree-lined driveway gracefully curved through quiet, expansive acres, lightly dusted with the initial winter snow, leading toward a residence I had only ever glimpsed in the glossy pages of high-end holiday magazines, never for a moment imagining it would one day be mine. The mansion itself rose majestically before me, an embodiment of timeless elegance, its tall windows glowing softly. The foyer alone was more expansive than my entire previous apartment. Soft, natural light diffused gently from the towering floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the pristine marble floors that echoed faintly beneath my cautious steps. The delicate scent of aged cedar and old books lingered in the air, a subtle legacy of its former inhabitants. It felt distinctly lived in, yet also patiently waiting. Patient, somehow, as if it had anticipated my arrival. 3 days after acquiring the key, I officially moved in. That inaugural night, I prepared a simple meal for myself in the vast kitchen, sitting comfortably at the wide island, a cozy blanket draped over my shoulders. I repeatedly scanned the magnificent space, constantly trying to convince myself that this wasn't an elaborate dream. A house of such profound beauty, such serene tranquility, bequeathed solely to me. Not my mother, not my sister, but me. And as I sat there, a compelling idea began to coalesce in my mind. Faint at first, then rapidly growing into an undeniable imperative. If my own blood relatives wanted no part of me at their Christmas Eve table, then I would construct a table of my own. A truly authentic Christmas, surrounded by individuals who genuinely cared. People who wouldn't flinch or recoil at the mention of the word divorce. People who didn't quantify love in terms of flawless perfection. A chosen family. I messaged the individuals who had steadfastly supported me in ways my biological relatives never had. What genuinely astonished me was the sheer speed with which their enthusiastic responses poured in. Maria Santos replied, "I'd absolutely love to come. My family is all in California this year." Elena from my yoga class wrote, "Yes, please, I was preparing to spend the holidays alone." 2 coworkers chimed in, "Count us in." Rachel messaged, "I'm bringing wine and possibly a guest or two. Hope that's fine." Within a mere 24 hours, my tentative guest list had swelled to an incredible 29. 29 people, each choosing to spend Christmas with me. Not out of burdensome obligation, but out of genuine, heartfelt connection. It overwhelmed me in the most wonderfully unexpected way possible. Naturally, I recognized I would need considerable assistance to orchestrate such an event. So, I reached out to the party planner my grandmother had so thoughtfully recommended, David Lennox. A man with a remarkably gentle voice, an incredibly discerning eye for detail, and a sense of humor that felt as comforting as a warm embrace. He arrived the following morning, stepping into the expansive foyer with an almost knowing smile. "Ah," he remarked, his gaze sweeping around the grand space. "You must be the granddaughter Elena always spoke of. You knew her?" I inquired, surprised. He nodded. "She often told me you possessed a unique spark that everyone else seemed intent on extinguishing. She said, one day, Victoria will host a celebration that truly reflects her authentic self." His words struck me deeply, resonating squarely in my chest. "I sincerely hope I live up to that expectation." "You already are," David said softly, his voice full of reassurance. We moved from room to room, meticulously discussing every single detail. Deep burgundy linens for the long dining table, elegant gold accents to infuse warmth, and soft, strategic lighting to make every corner feel intimately inviting. He listened with immense care, then smiled. "You're not aiming for sheer grandeur," he observed. "You're aiming for genuine welcome." "Precisely," I confirmed. Once the preliminary preparations were well underway, I contacted a renowned catering service on the Upper East Side, the very same elegant company my mother had frequently attempted to book, yet could never secure during the frantic holiday season. They initially claimed to be fully booked, but the moment I mentioned Bedford Estate, a coveted slot miraculously became available. Over the next 2 days, the entire house underwent a breathtaking metamorphosis. Fresh garlands gracefully draped the sweeping main staircase. Candles cast a gentle, flickering glow along the hallways. A magnificent Christmas tree shimmered with golden ornaments in the stately living room. Everything felt imbued with warmth, richness, and a quiet, ethereal magic. On the morning of Christmas Eve, I stood in the center of the grand dining room as bright sunlight streamed across the long table, impeccably set for 29 guests. Crystal glasses sparkled, polished silver gleamed, and the burgundy and gold accents were in perfect, harmonious balance. It no longer felt like someone else's house. It felt, unequivocally, like mine. Around noon, the tantalizing aroma of roasting turkey began to fill the air. Caterers moved with graceful efficiency through the vast kitchen, meticulously arranging trays, stirring simmering sauces, and precisely checking temperatures. The house thrummed with a vibrant, joyous life, the kind I had never once experienced during any holiday celebration with my own family. A gentle knock sounded at the front door. I opened it to find Rachel standing there, elegantly wrapped in a deep red coat, holding 2 bottles of wine like hard-won trophies. "Welcome to your magnificent new life," she announced, her eyes sparkling. I laughed, pulling her into a tight embrace. "You're early." "I brought a companion," she replied, stepping aside. Standing just behind her was Daniel Cho, the astute CEO of Bright Path Technologies, my boss, the man whose approval typically felt light years away. Yet here he was, looking genuinely warm, slightly self-conscious, and surprisingly relieved. "I sincerely hope you don't mind," Daniel said, a small, tentative smile playing on his lips. Rachel extended an invitation. Holidays, as we all know, can often be rather complicated. "Of course," I responded, my sincerity radiating. "I'm truly delighted you could make it." He returned my smile, and some of the inherent tension in his shoulders visibly eased. I realized then that each of us, in our own unique ways, carried our own quiet burdens of solitude, our own distinct narratives of struggle. More guests continued to arrive. Maria, the prolific author Sophia Stratford, 2 astute co-workers from the finance department, a charming couple of Rachel's clients, my incredibly flexible yoga instructor, and even the kind receptionist from Dr. Park's office. Each one entered with arms laden with delectable food, thoughtfully chosen gifts, festive holiday desserts, and the sort of profound warmth I had never once encountered in my childhood home. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the entire house was bathed in a radiant glow. Fireplaces crackled merrily, soft holiday melodies drifted through the air, and guests laughed boisterously as they moved fluidly between the cozy living room and the bustling kitchen. David, the party planner, meticulously adjusted the final centerpiece on the table, then stepped back, a look of profound satisfaction gracing his features. "It's utterly perfect," he declared. I drew a slow, deliberate breath, my gaze sweeping across the room, now completely filled with people who had consciously chosen to be present for me. It felt as if I had, at last, stepped into the life I had always been destined to inhabit. And the grand Christmas feast hadn't even commenced. The house hummed with a vitality I had never experienced in any holiday gathering throughout my upbringing. Laughter flowed through the elegant rooms like a gentle, warm current, ascending into the soaring ceilings and softly curling around the intricate edges of the grand staircase. Candles flickered with a delicate dance along the mantel. The towering Christmas tree radiated a brilliant glow, as if it had patiently awaited this precise evening all year long. And then, almost in perfect synchronicity, everyone began to gravitate towards the magnificent dining room. David, with an expert touch, subtly dimmed the ambient lights, just enough for the majestic chandelier to cast a warm, golden halo across the beautifully set table. The crystal glasses caught the light, gleaming invitingly. The rich burgundy linens provided a soft counterpoint to the polished marble floor. Everything appeared as though it belonged on the pages of an exclusive holiday magazine, yet it possessed an unmistakably human, lived-in, and profoundly welcoming atmosphere. As we settled into our seats, Daniel Cho slowly rose from his chair. The room quieted, a testament to the effortless respect he commanded. He gracefully lifted his glass, the flickering firelight catching its delicate rim. "To Victoria," he stated, his voice steady, yet imbued with a raw, honest emotion. "For reminding all of us that true family isn't defined by shared blood, but by unwavering presence." A palpable warmth permeated the entire room. Someone softly murmured, "Here, here." Glasses were raised in unison. Then Sophia Stratford, the best-selling author whose voice was as smooth as fine velvet, elevated her own glass. "To chosen family," she added, her words resonant. "To the immense courage it requires to construct the life you genuinely desire." More heartfelt toasts followed, each one brief, deeply sincere, and profoundly authentic. I sat there, feeling an overwhelming surge flood my chest, a sensation whose very shape I had long forgotten: belonging. For the first time in my entire existence, I was not seated at a table where every utterance was carefully measured, every facial expression meticulously filtered, every moment a carefully constructed performance. Here, no one was scrutinizing me. No one was waiting for me to falter or disappoint them. Dinner unfolded in gentle, comforting waves of shared stories, light-hearted teasing, and the melodious clinking of glasses. People leaned in, genuinely eager to listen, rather than to judge. Maria laughed so heartily she nearly spilled her wine. Rachel wiped a solitary tear from her eye after one of her clients recounted a particularly amusing anecdote. Even Daniel, typically so reserved in the office, appeared lighter, more liberated, as if this very house had granted him unspoken permission to simply exhale. At some point, as I watched everyone converse, eat, and lean into one another, Daniel caught my eye from across the table. "Victoria," he began quietly, then rose once more. The room fell silent in anticipation. He nervously adjusted his jacket, a gesture of unease I had never witnessed from him before. "I typically refrain from discussing work at social gatherings," he commenced, "but surrounded by such profound sincerity, it feels appropriate to say this here." My breath hitched in my throat. "The board and I have been meticulously reviewing the Morrison account and the exceptional work you've accomplished over this past year," he continued. "Your leadership has been nothing short of exemplary, and tonight, among individuals who so clearly believe in you, I wish to be the very first to announce," he smiled, a genuine, warm expression, "we would like to formally offer you the role of Chief Financial Officer, effective January 1st. A wave of astonished sound swept through the room. Excited shouts, enthusiastic cheers, audible gasps. Rachel actually squealed with delight. Sophia grasped my hand, her eyes bright with tearful pride. Maria almost dropped her fork in shock. I covered my face for a brief moment, utterly overwhelmed by the suddenness and magnitude of it all. "Daniel, I don't even know what to say. You've earned every single bit of this," he replied, his voice firm and unwavering. "And it's high time the world truly—" After dinner, David, the party planner, burst into the dining room, a camera clutched excitedly in his hand. "Golden hour in a winter mansion? Are you truly serious?" he exclaimed dramatically. "Everyone to the foyer immediately. We're capturing this moment." The grand staircase radiated with a soft, warm ambient light as 29 people cheerfully arranged themselves across its steps, laughing, adjusting coats, and squeezing shoulder to shoulder. Sophia stood gracefully beside the magnificent Christmas tree. Daniel leaned casually against the ornate banister. Rachel wrapped her arm around my waist, whispering, "Your grandmother would be absolutely ecstatic right now." When David snapped the final photograph, he handed me my phone. "Take a look," he urged. I did, and my breath hitched. The photo resembled a scene directly out of a classic holiday film. A group of accomplished, joyous individuals glowing beneath the sparkling chandelier, the marble foyer behind them shimmering with an inviting warmth. And right there, in the very center, was me, smiling with a profound sense of peace I barely recognized at first. "Post it," Rachel insisted, her eyes gleaming. "Let the entire world see you exactly as you are right now." I hesitated, not out of any fear of judgment, but rather from the sheer unfamiliarity of it all. I had never before shared my life in such an authentic, proud manner. But then, I remembered my grandmother's heartfelt letter: "Live vibrantly, occupy your rightful space." I opened Facebook. I uploaded the album, overflowing with gratitude for my chosen family and these beautiful new beginnings. Blessed to be surrounded by people who genuinely show up, who celebrate honestly, who create space for true authenticity. Merry Christmas from Bedford Estate. I meticulously tagged the location: Bedford, Westchester County. The very neighborhood my mother had fantasized about for decades, the one she had never believed I could ever genuinely belong to. Then I hit post. Within mere minutes, likes began to flood in. Comments, shares, a wave of warmth and recognition. And I had no inkling that this single post, these photographs captured on a staircase bathed in golden light, would ignite something far, far more significant. By the following morning, the radiant Christmas glow within Bedford Estate still lingered warmly in the air, but my phone was already buzzing incessantly. Notifications cascaded across the screen in an unending stream. Likes, comments, messages from former coworkers and old classmates I hadn't heard from in years. The staircase photo had taken on a life entirely its own. "This looks absolutely magical. You appear truly radiant. Is that Daniel Cho? Is that Sophia Stratford?" The comments kept pouring in, an unstoppable torrent. People were actively sharing the post. Sophia, with her million-plus followers, had reposted the photo with the poignant caption, "This is what real family truly embodies." But beneath all the excitement and genuine warmth, I detected something else. A small, chilling line of text: "Seen by Patricia Mitchell. Seen by Richard Mitchell." My parents had scrutinized every single photograph. The first call arrived mere seconds later. I allowed it to ring unanswered. Then another from Dad. Ignored. Then a text from my mother, penned in her characteristically crisp, clipped tone: "Mom, where did you acquire that house?" Before I could even begin to process that, another message flashed from my father: "Dad, call us immediately." Then, again from my mother: "Mom, is that the Bedford property? How? Call us now." And finally: "Mom, Victoria, answer your phone this instant." I was still staring blankly at the screen when Rachel strolled into the kitchen, comfortably clad in one of my oversized holiday sweaters, carrying 2 steaming mugs of coffee. "Morning," she chirped cheerfully. Then she noticed my stunned expression. "Oh no, the Mitchells have awakened, haven't they?" I handed her my phone. She scrolled through the messages. "Wow," she breathed. "They're unraveling rather quickly." Before she could finish reading, her own phone rang. I glanced at the caller ID and burst into spontaneous laughter. "Oh my God," I exclaimed. "My mom is calling you. How on earth does she even have my number?" Rachel asked, utterly bewildered. "No idea," I confessed, but she hit answer and put the phone on speaker. "Turner Law Offices, this is Rachel Alvarez." "Miss Alvarez, this is Patricia Mitchell. I urgently need to speak to my daughter." Rachel smiled at me mischievously as she replied, "I'm afraid she isn't here with me at this precise moment. And even if she were, I'm certainly not her social secretary." "Did she inform you she purchased that house?" my mother demanded, her voice tight with disbelief. "She didn't purchase it," Rachel said sweetly, her voice devoid of malice. "But thank you immensely for calling. Happy holidays." She hung up the phone before my mother could unleash her next wave of sheer panic. I doubled over with laughter, the kind of laughter that feels like a profound release, wrapped in utter disbelief. "Oh, she's absolutely spiraling. You haven't even seen the rest of it," Rachel declared, sliding my phone back across the counter to me. I reopened the message thread. "Aunt Margaret, your mother is on the verge of a complete breakdown. What in the world is happening? Caroline, Mom claims you stole Grandma's estate. I told her that's utterly insane, but she refuses to calm down. Mom, Victoria, take those photos down immediately. This is utterly humiliating. Dad, you're making us appear utterly foolish. People are asking awkward questions." Then, the message that laid everything bare: "Mom, how could you possibly not inform us about the inheritance? We are your parents. We had an absolute right to know." Elinor's estate was unquestionably intended to be distributed equally. I stared at those words, feeling an undeniable clarity settle deep within me, not anger, not shock, but something far simpler, something crystalline. It was never, not once, about me. Never about my well-being, never about my happiness. It was, and always had been, solely about what I could offer them: access, social status, leverage. And now I possessed something they could not possibly control. More messages flooded in. "Dad, we urgently need to talk. Come to the house now." "Mom, your father's business associates saw the photos. How do you know Sophia Stratford and Daniel Cho? Why weren't we introduced?" "Mom, we could have exploited these invaluable connections." "Mom, call us right this instant." Rachel looked at me, her expression questioning. "Do you intend to respond to any of this?" "No," I stated firmly. "For once in my life, absolutely not." She smiled. "Good." Throughout the remainder of the afternoon, the emotional fallout propagated like wildfire. My mother's church acquaintances commented directly beneath my Christmas post. "What a truly beautiful home. Patricia, you must be incredibly proud. Rather surprised you weren't celebrating with her." My mother offered no reply. Caroline texted again. "Mom lost 2 positions on her charity committees. People genuinely think she fabricated your travel plans. She's blaming me now. Please, just talk to her." I typed a response, deleted it, typed again, then finally set my phone down. No response. As evening descended, my notifications buzzed once more, this time with a lengthy email from my mother. The subject line, ironically, made me laugh, though nothing within the message was remotely amusing. "Moving forward as a family." I opened it. "Dear Victoria, after considerable reflection, your father and I believe we may have acted somewhat hastily regarding Christmas Eve. Family members should, unequivocally, support each other through misunderstandings. Your grandmother's residence is indeed quite lovely. We had absolutely no inkling she bequeathed such a substantial inheritance to you. As your parents, we should certainly have been duly informed. Nevertheless, we are entirely willing to move beyond this miscommunication. We would like to extend an invitation for you to join us for Christmas night at our home. You may bring 1 or 2 of your new acquaintances, perhaps Mr. Cho or Ms. Stratford. Your father has several promising business ventures that could greatly benefit from an introduction to them. We should also, naturally, discuss the estate. It would be most advantageous if you were to utilize the house for our various charity events. This would effectively rectify any lingering confusion stemming from your recent social media post. Let us collectively remember what is truly paramount: family, unity, and progressing forward. With love, Mom and Dad. Not a single genuine apology, not a single acknowledgement of their deplorable actions, merely an insidious invitation to exploit every single thing I had painstakingly built without their involvement. I reread my mother's email, specifically focusing on lines that sounded polished, deceptively gentle, and undeniably manipulative. Every sentence was carefully cloaked in a veneer of false warmth, liberally dipped in an ingrained sense of entitlement, as if she were extending an olive branch when, in reality, she was merely offering a restrictive leash. We were too hasty, misunderstanding. Use the house for our charity events. Bring Daniel or Sophia Stratford. What's important is family. For a quiet moment, I sat in profound silence within the Bedford Estate Library, the room softly illuminated by lamplight, the faint, comforting scent of evergreens still lingering from the previous night's celebration. Outside the vast window, snow drifted gently over the expansive lawn, settling into soft, pristine white layers, like a blank page awaiting a fresh narrative. And for the first time in my entire existence, I felt utterly serene, completely clear-headed. My mother's email wasn't an invitation at all. It was a cold, calculated transaction. I forwarded the message to Rachel, who read it once, her expression hardening, and commented, "I have represented divorce clients who used more compassionate language than this." We both laughed, but not because the situation was humorous. It was because it was so depressingly familiar, so utterly predictable, and so incredibly draining. "Are you going to reply?" Rachel asked softly. "Yes," I confirmed, but not in the manner they expect. I opened a new email composition window and began typing slowly, deliberately, without any anger, simply expressing the unvarnished truth. "Thank you for reaching out. I respect your viewpoint, and I have firmly established my own. The Bedford Estate is my cherished home, not a commercial venue. I require personal space to heal from our recent interactions and will not be hosting or attending family events at this juncture. I wish you both well, Victoria. I hovered over the send button for a fleeting second, then firmly pressed it. There was no trace of fear in my chest, no lingering guilt, just a quiet, unwavering sense of self-possession I had never before experienced. 35 seconds later, my phone vibrated again. Mom, Victoria, you're being utterly unreasonable. Mom, we are your parents, you owe us respect. Mom, Grandma's estate was undoubtedly intended for the entire family. You are behaving selfishly. Then, Dad, your mother is extremely distressed. This division is unhealthy. Please be the more mature person. I gently placed my phone down and allowed their words to simply dissipate, like delicate snowflakes meeting warm ground, melting into nothingness before they had any chance to truly stick. For the rest of the afternoon, I strolled through my magnificent new home with soft, deliberate steps, taking in countless exquisite details I hadn't had the time to fully appreciate before. The intricate crown molding in the opulent living room, the cozy reading nook nestled beneath the grand staircase, the gleaming brass knobs on the library cabinets that still bore the faint, honorable imprint of age. Everywhere I looked, I sensed my grandmother's presence, her profound thoughtfulness, her fierce independence, her quiet, unwavering defiance. I found myself whispering, "You knew, you always, always knew." And then another memory resurfaced, vivid and potent. Our last truly meaningful conversation. She lay in her hospital bed, her hands cool yet remarkably strong as she gently squeezed mine. "Do not let them dim your light, sweetheart. Not your husband, not even your own parents. Promise me." I had made that promise, but I hadn't fully grasped the weight of what I was pledging until this very moment. That evening, I sat at my grand dining table with a steaming mug of tea and a neat stack of blank thank you cards. I wrote each one slowly, meticulously, each card a small, heartfelt offering of profound gratitude to the individuals who had truly shown up for me when my own family had deliberately chosen absence. Thank you for celebrating with me. Thank you for truly seeing me. Thank you for treating me as if I genuinely mattered. Thank you for helping me feel utterly at home. To Daniel, I penned, "Thank you for recognizing my contributions with clarity, especially after I spent years believing I was never enough." To Sophia, "Thank you for being a vital reminder that new beginnings can be consciously chosen, rather than forcibly endured." To Rachel, "Thank you for championing me long before I possessed the strength to champion myself." As I carefully sealed each envelope, a profound realization dawned upon me. I wasn't merely writing thank you cards. I was, in essence, meticulously constructing my very own roots. Over the subsequent 6 months, everything in my life transformed, swiftly, quietly, and beautifully. I seamlessly transitioned into my new, challenging role as Chief Financial Officer at BrightPath Technologies. My expansive corner office overlooked the vibrant Manhattan skyline, which stretched out before me like a powerful promise I had never genuinely believed I deserved. I worked harder than I ever had in my entire career. But now, without the suffocating tightness in my chest, without the relentless internal whisper constantly reminding me that I wasn't enough. The old Victoria had lived with that insidious whisper for so long that it had morphed into an undeniable truth. The new Victoria, however, recognized it for what it truly was: someone else's dismissive voice. The Bedford estate evolved into a profound sanctuary for more than just myself. I began hosting monthly dinners, small gatherings at first, then progressively fuller, more vibrant events. Entrepreneurs, talented artists, supportive coworkers, members from my divorce support group, Dr. Park's dedicated staff, and even friendly neighbors who occasionally wandered in with delicious casseroles and intriguing stories. Laughter echoed joyously up the grand staircase on a regular basis. The vast kitchen witnessed more genuine happiness in a few short months than it had in decades. We celebrated hard-won promotions, liberating breakups, audacious new ventures, profound heartbreaks, and the arduous process of healing. People shed tears at my dining table. They danced freely in the kitchen at midnight. Sometimes, they simply sat in comfortable silence beside the crackling fireplace, profoundly grateful to have found somewhere warm, safe, and welcoming to simply breathe. Chosen family wasn't merely a fallback plan. It was, in fact, the miraculous solution. My parents continued to send birthday cards, holiday cards, and stiff, thinly veiled apologies meticulously wrapped in polite, insincere phrasing. I responded minimally, firmly, and always respectfully, but with a palpable distance that no longer instilled fear within me. Caroline visited once, quietly. She walked through the Bedford estate with soft, almost reverent footsteps, gently touching the cool marble countertop, the polished banister, the plush velvet armchairs. "I never realized it was truly this awful," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "What Mom and Dad did, I genuinely didn't comprehend until I saw all of this." "It's all right," I reassured her softly. "We all awaken to realities at different times." She squeezed my arm, tears beginning to well in her eyes. "I'm not ready to openly challenge them." "That's perfectly okay too," I said gently. "Just promise me you won't forget who you truly are." She nodded, embraced me tightly, and then departed. I never held it against her. Not everyone possesses the immediate courage to break a generational pattern. Not everyone is instantly prepared to completely rewrite their own story. One radiant spring afternoon, I stood in my office, gazing out over the sprawling city, reading a newly issued press release. Bright Path Technologies had just successfully finalized our first major acquisition under my decisive leadership. Headlines quickly began circulating. Bright Path CFO Victoria Mitchell leads record growth strategy. My phone vibrated moments later. A text message from my father. "Dad, saw the news, incredibly proud of you." 2 years ago, I would have abandoned everything to cling desperately to those words. Now, they felt like a faded postcard from a distant country I no longer inhabited. I typed no response. Instead, I gently set my phone aside and stepped out onto the small balcony of my office. The refreshing breeze ruffled my hair. The city hummed with life far below, and I felt it. A quiet, unshakable confidence settling into the very spaces where fear had once resided. That night, I drove home along the winding, tree-lined path of the Bedford estate. The grand house glowed softly in the deepening dusk, a warm, inviting beacon. When I stepped inside, a familiar, comforting peace enveloped me. My home, my life, my story. I walked down the hallway to the library and paused once more in front of the mirror, the very same one I had looked into on Christmas Day. This time, the woman staring back at me wasn't someone desperately trying to recover. She was someone wholly rebuilt, someone irrevocably claimed, someone unequivocally chosen, not by her parents, not by a partner, but by her own steadfast self. And that, in its purest essence, was absolutely everything. If my journey has resonated with something deep within you,